Focus. Hello, we are live. Yeah, sorry I didn't stream last week. Just kind of a dreary weekend last week, and so just was not feeling the stream. But I am live this weekend, and we are going to tie a fly. Um, First off, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I try to stream on the weekends, usually Sunday because I do work on Saturdays. Um, and yeah, we tie classic flies. Sometimes we do freestyle flies or freestyle interpretations of classics. If you enjoy what you see and want to see more of my work, you can check out my Instagram. It's at justwonderin.brad on Instagram. And if you want to support the channel or purchase any of the flies that you see me tie, you can check out my Etsy shop. It's Studio1213 on Etsy. So let's get into it. Now, as the center. As the kind of trolley title of today's stream slide. Let's see if we find some light. There we go. As the trolley title of the stream implied, I am tying a doctor today. I am debating whether I should tell you which doctor. Yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm tying a black doctor, and I'm tying a Price Tanner black doctor. Mostly because, one, it's easy. Two, I've got the materials. I have been meaning for a very long time to stock up on hooks. But the problem is my normal hook supplier, for whatever reason, their website is broken. And it's broken in such a way that's kind of weird. Every time I go to try and pay, it says there are no payment options available for my state. I'm not entirely certain what that means, but I need some more hooks. I would love to get my hands on, some of the more artisan hooks. Right now, this is just a Gaelic Supreme. Harrison Bartley, which is it's just a fine budget hook. I tie on Gaelic Supremes all the time. I do like them, but there are nicer hooks out there. I think the one a lot of people are familiar with are Ron Lucas hooks. But I would love to get hooks from other hook makers. Just to be honest, I'm not actually sure how to go about doing it. I'm always a little bit hesitant. I'm a member of a couple of Facebook groups, and I'm always a little bit hesitant to post on a Facebook group being like, hey, is anybody selling their hooks? And a lot of the hook makers that I really admire are European, and a lot of times their websites aren't in English. I'm very atypical American. I'm really bad with other languages. I did learn German as a kid, so I do speak. In theory, I speak fluent German. That's because my parents had spent their young adult years in Germany, or sorry, not Germany, in Switzerland. Very different. They had spent it in Switzerland, kind of working abroad as young adults. And when they came back to the United States, decided to have kids, they wanted their children to have second languages. And so, because I was the oldest and kind of their guinea pig, I ended up learning German, which is fine. It's very nice to have another language, but I have found in my professional career now as an adult, German was probably not the language that I needed to learn. Living where I live and interacting with the populations I interact with, Spanish probably would have been the better More useful choice, which is, again, it's nice to have a second language. Um, and it's also very nice because, like, when I go to Europe and I go to a German speaking country, um, well, I'm never going to pass for a local, particularly given my colloquial um, my arsenal, my vocabulary of colloquial, you know, everyday sayings is not very good. So it never passed as a German millennial. Um, I at least I don't have a very strong American accent, which is good. Um, can garner a few bonus points when haggling in the market and that sort of thing. Um, but in any case, all that to say, it, I have not quite decided how I want to go about trying to get hooks from these other artisan makers. Um, if anybody in the chat has either connections or is a hook maker, I would love to collaborate. You know, I'm happy to purchase hooks, but also being a content creator, being on social media, the big thing now is to collaborate. Um, Happy to collaborate. Uh, to provide to build my own content and also provide content to you. But yeah, at the end of the day, I really just need hooks. So we're tying a Black Doctor, and the reason why I'm tying a Black Doctor today is because I realized that after a number of purchases out of my Etsy shop's getting kind of low. The Doctor series, Black Doctor, Silver Doctor, Blue Doctor, they're all fairly solid solid performers in the shop. Not gonna lie. Um, so gonna tie Black Doctor today, and they are popular flies. I mean, they're still popular today. You can find kind of the stripped down versions of the Silver Doctor and the Blue Doctor and Black Doctor, all being still fished today. Um, there are hairwing versions. Um, of all of them for salmon and steelhead. One of my favorite versions is from Pretty Impractical Salmon Flies, uh, which is the wings that are made out of. They're basically hair wings, but they're made with floss. By that's a Pretty Impractical Salmon Flies by Dick Collier. I believe. I don't know. I might be wrong on that. It's been a while. I don't actually have that book here with me. It's back at my parents'. But that is one of my favorite styles of kind of the modernization of salmon flies. What other news do I have? Not much news. Got a promotion at work. Not really a promotion. I guess I'm being re-rolled at work, which is actually good. It'll look good on my CV. But for those of you who don't know, I work for my local health department, and of course we've been very busy during the pandemic. And since I've got a little bit of pandemic related experience under my belt, they are re-rolling a lot of the experienced people into more, I guess you could say, like community facing rather than individual patient facing jobs. So I'm being re-rolled for that, which will be good. I'll get to do a lot more, prevention work as well as education work, which is kind of an important interest of mine. Which will be good. It'll be interesting. It'll be nice to shake it up a little bit. I've been doing the patient-facing work now for quite a bit, and every now and then, need to change the scenery, need to change the pace. Fortunately, it doesn't come with a raise, but that's all right. Now I've had an idea for a new kind of series of videos, or new series of, I guess not videos but live streams. If you follow me on Instagram, I will be. I think I'm going to do it through Instagram, so please follow me on Instagram. If you would be interested in participating. But the idea that I have is this. One of the things that I both enjoy and kind of hate about freestyle salmon flies are the salmon flies that are based off of kind of symbolic colors. Examples would be like college sports teams or like country's flags. And I love seeing the creativity and the way that people incorporate those colors into their salmon flies. But I also dislike the way that they sometimes do it because a lot of college colors are oftentimes just two colors. I grew up near Michigan State, so MSU, green and white, or University of Michigan, maize and blue, University of Wisconsin, red and white. And flies tied with just two colors tend to be, in my opinion, kind of difficult to read. When you look at them, it's hard to pick out like individual parts on the fly because it's either green or white. And that doesn't make for a very interesting fly. It might be eye catching, but it's just because it's bright. It's not complex. Like if you look at like a Jock Scott or a Green Highlander, it's a very complex fly. It's a very visually interesting fly because they are very complex. And so I have an idea that I would like to try and explore a way, maybe not try to get like a formula, but can we turn it into a salmon fly? And I'm kind of two tracks for this. One would be to suggest a common symbol, like a college mascot or something, or to explore whether I can, whether a non-salmon fly can be turned into a salmon fly. I've actually kind of done this already a little bit. A while ago, by a while ago, I mean almost 10 years ago now, because I had just started grad school. But a professor at a I had started grad school at Duke University, and a professor at the neighboring university, UNC, University of North Carolina, had approached me about turning the. That was a little bit. extra bushy. Had approached me about turning the classic wet fly, the professor, into a salmon fly, because there was no salmon fly version of the professor, at least not that I could find. Um, I don't think there is, or there was. Now there is because I tied one. Um, but if you look at the professor wet fly, it one lacks a lot of the elements that you would associate with a classic Atlantic salmon fly. Um, but it also, you know, it's a wet fly. You're talking about something that's normally tied, size 10, size 12. You're turning it into a 2/0 or 3/0 or 5/0 salmon fly. How do you do that? How do you go about doing that? So one of the things I'd be interested in exploring is, can I turn these normally kind of simpler flies into salmon flies? And so the way this would work is that, on the Instagram, I would, ask for suggestions. Every time I tie one of these flies, then, post it on Instagram, and then, in the comments on the Instagram post, suggest what I should do next. But I haven't decided whether I want to pursue doing, do I want to try making non-salmon flies into salmon flies, or do I do like sports teams? So haven't decided that yet, but keep an eye out on the Instagram for those posts. They'll be coming hopefully as soon as I figure out what I want to do. But that's an idea. I think one of the challenges in classic flies, in particular with trying to find a balance between what is creative and what is just being a good technician. I've talked about this before on previous streams, but a lot of what we claim to be artistic is actually just being a good technician, being able to replicate something well. I don't like these reps. Give me a second. So, the idea, and there are different levels of creativity. I think my preferred space in the creative space is taking the classic form factor of a classic Atlantic salmon fly and creating something new within that space. So there's a boundary to the creativity. I know there are a lot of really amazing tires out there who create far more architectural or sculptural interpretations of salmon flies. Great examples would be like Steve Fernandez, um, uh, Sean Davis, a whole bunch. Uh, that's not kind of what I prefer to do. I certainly admire their work. Um, and in a lot of ways, those kinds of tires are a lot more creative and artistic than somebody who's simply tying Green Highlanders. Um, but there is space within the classic form factor for creativity, and a lot of it might be adapting new materials, or coming up with new combinations of materials and colors. And certainly there's been a huge evolution in the style of classic Atlantic salmon flies. So if you look at, like, I think a good way to put it is, if William Blacker were to look at a salmon fly, say tied by Charlie Shute, You probably wouldn't recognize the style. Um, I think you would be very impressed. Um, but it, the style of that Charlie Shoot ties in or tied in is is not even remotely close to what Blacker would have tied. Uh, so there's certainly been a huge creative evolution in the style um, that people tie in commonly. So yeah, there are just different levels of creativity, but when it comes to creating patterns or creating something new, simply tying old patterns is not as creative as other ways of tying. Now, it is a fair argument to say, well, is something tied by Val, a great kind of one of the what I would call a sculptural or fly tire. Is that really a salmon fly? Um, I'm not even certain he would argue that what he ties are salmon flies. Um, perhaps they are, perhaps they aren't. But you know, it is legitimate to ask, like, where does the designation of salmon fly end? But anyway, that's a lot of philosophy. I don't have any of the answers. I just tie the classics. I'm a good technician, um, and I am happy with that. Hmm. Need a hackle. As usual, picking through the hackles, looking for one with good taper. Um, I would say this bag of hackles is probably on its last legs. There are plenty of hackles in the bunch, but a lot of these are mostly suitable for throats and things, not really for body hackles. So, um, this one looks a little burned. Gonna have to hit up John McClane's shop again soon. Do you want a? I am looking also for a darker claret. So this batch of claret's a little bit light. It's not quite as dark as like an Irish claret, which is probably what's called for here. Um, the recipe just calls for a dark claret, but I'm willing to bet it's probably closer in color to a like an Irish claret, like a very dark Irish claret. Um, but uh, I've only got this, so I picked a slightly darker one. Doesn't have great taper, um, but it will work. Now I'm going to prep the hackle off the fly, um, and then wrap the body, and then I'm going to do the technique that I think I'm fairly certain I've showed this before, but using the body silk, the silk for the body, um, to tie on the hackle. Uh, and This is useful when you're tying in a hackle, because then you don't have to try to wrap the body silk around the hackle stem. So you can just wrap your first layer of silk as you would normally, and then when you start to go back the other direction, um, then you just use that silk to tie down the hackle. It is not the way I would do it if I were tying a fishing fly. For those who would tie these for fishing. But it is a nice way when tying a display fly because um, it's a little bit more convenient. I would say it's mostly convenience. I think it does look nice as well uh, because you avoid kind of the extra thread bulk that you might incur tying in the hackle mid body. Um, but it is mostly a convenience thing. And again, we are going to do this fly in two parts. So this week I'm going to tie the body through the throat hackle. And then next week we'll do the rest of the fly to finish off the fly, the wing, the sides, the topping, all that. And of course, being a doctor, the very bright scarlet head. All right, so I think here, so I'm going to tie in the hackle. And of course, as usual, thinking about the positioning of the hackle is going to go in on the back side of the fly. I'm actually going to take it back one wrap because so there we go. So that's the hackle tied in. Uh, the other thing that I think this could just be me. This could be just a little bit of confirmation bias here, but I also think that tying in a hackle this way is a little bit more secure um, because you get a lot more surface area to tie in to hold the hackle down. So it's a lot more difficult to pull the hackle out as you wrap it. Um, Probably just me. Um, but that is my sense. Uh, oh boy, definitely cut this a little bit close here. Oh, that was a little too close there on the amount of silk that I cut. Oof. Worked out fine. Worked out fine. That was a little closer. All right. Next, we're going to wrap the rib. I want the rib to pass um, right in front of the hackle without, pinching it. Which is why I put it on the backside and I put it closer to the rear of the fly than you would if you're just tying the hackle in on the underside. Um, just trying to figure out like how those different elements get tied in is kind of important for spacing. From that, bind it all down. I'm okay with building up a little bit of bulk at this point at the head because again, one, it has a dubbed red wool or in this case, mohair head. And two, um, you want a little bit of bulk on the underside of the fly's head, because when you tie on the wing and everything else, that bulk gets all added to the top of the fly. And so if you want like that perfect, as sometimes described, Hershey's Kiss head shape. Um, you want to have an equal amount of bulk in the head under the fly as you do on top of the fly. I think that's something that some people don't tend to think about when tying these flies, um, because the wing because the wings often add so much bulk to the top of the fly. The head is actually oftentimes lopsided from a side elevation point of view, um, and kind of appears to sit on top of the hook shank rather than being kind of symmetrical around the hook shank. So I do like to. So whenever I tie off, elements in the body, I tend to tie them off on the bottom side of the hook, just to build up that extra bulk under the hook to balance the head. So it's the head, the mass of the head, if you will, is equally divided between the top of the hook and the bottom hook, or at least as closely as I can get it. So. All right. And speckled guinea for the throat. Where did I put it? Excuse the pajama pants. It is a weekend. I'm on my weekend. So the speckled guinea that I found that I'm going to be using today actually comes from local craft store. I've said this before. I will say it again. Local craft store is a great source for cheap feathers that are actually useful. For me, for the craft stores that we have around us, the useful feathers are guinea. For some reason, the craft store feathers packs tend to have a higher percentage of speckled guinea feathers than like than the feather packs that you can get from like Hairline or anything like that. So incredibly useful. Is long enough? Yeah, this is long enough. So incredibly useful for classic Atlantic salmon flies, particularly like throats and things. Um, it's just amusing to me. The other thing that you can get really cheaply, at least in my local craft store, are peacock sword feathers. So for those of you who tie a lot of Alexandrias and that sort of thing, Alexandrias, great source for those. That's about it, at least for my local craft store, which is a Michael's. They do sell like turkey wing feathers, not so useful for classic Atlantic salmon flies, where we use mostly turkey tail feathers. There are some duck wing feathers that would be great for like Bergman wets. Probably. Probably not actually, since I think they mostly are like secondary kind of like, I don't know, whatever you call them, pinions, I guess. Anyway, but at least for me, the craft store has been a great source of speckled guinea and peacock sword feathers. Now, of course, if you want dyed guinea, you're going to have to go either dye it yourself. or buy the dyed packs from like Hairline or whatever feather merchant you prefer. I'm actually going to unwrap and I'm going to wax. Since I'm going to tie off the fly, wax the thread here. There we go. And I'm going to build up a little bit of extra bulk here, as always, just while I have white thread on. And that's, of course, because, as usual, the rachis, the stem of the speckled guinea, is fairly thick by the time you get down towards the base of the feather. So we'll just build up a little bit of extra bulk so to help the wing get up and over that extra little bit. I'm going to tie it off here. We'll pick up the rest of this fly next week. As usual, 2-part fly. Unfortunately, this is just this is a doctor, so pretty straightforward. Like I said, keep an eye out for the ideas for freestyle flies that you would like to see me tie. We'll be figuring out how to do that. Like I said, it'll probably most likely be through Instagram, or you can submit your ideas either through like a poll or some kind of like the format that you sometimes see for like the AMAs, Ask Me Anythings. Focus. So yeah, we'll be doing that. Hopefully, do a couple of those. And like I said, my job is changing. There might be, hopefully, that'll mean, for the most part, the change that you'll see in the stream is that sometimes I'll be able to stream on Saturdays, which will be good. Which because I won't be competing with things like church and family and that sort of thing. Other than that, yeah. Again, if you're new to the stream, welcome. And as always, if you want to check out more of my work, it's on Instagram at justwondering.brad. Yeah, if you want to support the stream or purchase any of the flies that you have seen me tie, you can check out the Etsy shop, Studio1213 on Etsy. Like I said early in the stream, my stock is getting pretty low, but hopefully be tying more of these classic flies. I've been thinking about putting freestyle flies up on the shop, but those don't usually sell. So it's a little bit of a hit or miss thing for me when it comes to selling freestyle flies. I actually almost prefer to give those away anyway, since they're a little bit more personal. They're my own personal creations, so giving them away to friends is kind of more of a personal gift, if you will. The other thing that I've actually been thinking about in terms of freestyle flies is, I don't know if I'm sure people remember, but there was a book series called, I can't even remember, rare and unusual materials or rare and unusual flies. Um, and I've never owned those books. I've never even seen inside them. But I remember on the cover of those books were, beautiful pictures of flies. And so been thinking about emulating some of those flies, particularly the married wing streamer flies. I've done a couple of them. I might have even done one or two on stream. It is a style that I really like, and so I might be doing a couple of those in the near future. I do need to find some good streamer hooks. So if anybody knows of some good kind of classic looking streamer hooks, please feel free to comment on this video. Yeah, so those are my ambitions. Who knows how many of those will come reality, but stay tuned. We'll see what actually we can get around to. And like I said, with the changing job, hopefully I'll have more time to stream on the weekends. Certainly be more prepared for streams. And so thanks for hanging out with me today. If you want to be notified of when I stream again, please subscribe. We do appreciate it. And thanks for hanging out. Have a good weekend or a good rest of your Sunday, since there's not much weekend left. And see you later.